Hey fangirls and boys, this is Natalie and you're watching Whole Lotta Love, and in today's video I create this warm toned crease, super rainbow winged cut crease, and I did this using the Beef Perfect Cosmetics X Stacey Marie Carnival XL Pro palette. So this palette, a similar palette came out before. I think it was just the Stacey Marie Be Perfect Carnival palette, and I was definitely tempted to buy that palette, but I live in the US and this is, I guess this is more of like a UK brand or European brand, so they didn't really have it available easily to me. I could have gotten it on Beauty Bay, but Beauty Bay's shipping takes a really long time if you don't expedite. It takes about 3 weeks, almost a month to get your packaging, so I kind of held out on that one. Like, it looked kind of cool, but it just kind of looked like some rainbow shades, some things thrown together, and I was like, I have plenty of shades like that. But then when they came out with this one, I was like very happy that I didn't buy the original, because I feel like this has pretty much most, if not all, of the shades that were in the original palette, and it has a lot more shades as well, and I feel like this is like a really like full body palette. So I'll read the back. It says the palette contains a dazzling carnival of colors that includes 30 vibrant matte shades, 10 high pigment shimmers, and 3 highlighters shimmers. So I think that that's a really nice ratio of mattes to shimmers. It's mostly mattes with just enough shimmers to give you like nice pops of color and things like that. And you have the highlighters that you can use for the face. They're good for different skin tones, you know, like a light, medium, deep skin tone highlight, but they're also good to do inner corner work, which is what I did with this one with this highlight shade over here in the shade Fair Play. I'll list the actual like amount of product if I can find it. It's not, I don't think it's listed on the palette. Yeah, I don't really see it listed on the palette, but I'll try to find the amount of product if I can, and I'll list it on the screen. But overall, I'm really enjoying this palette. I really love how everything came out. I love the names in this palette. You'll kind of hear some of the names as I, you know, put the look together. I think they're very just like trendy and fun, tongue-in-cheek kind of shade names, so I really enjoyed that. And I love that all the names are listed on the palette itself. I feel like everything, you know, when I did the crease, it was even this like yellow shade. Yellows can be a little weird, you know, matte yellows, I feel like, because it's a lighter color, but this one's a little bit deeper, so I thought it looked really pigmented. And I used some of the browns in the crease. I thought everything blended out really nicely, and everything I laid on the cut crease is very, very vibrant. Again, everything blended out really smooth, the lower lash line. I think everything came out really beautiful, and I thought that this palette just had such a nice array of colors. I feel like this is a true, yeah, XL Pro palette. They call it a Pro palette, and I feel like, and you know, I guess this person, Stacey Marie, I'm not really familiar with her work, but it does say makeup artist. So she definitely, and they definitely really thought this out. There are some nice cool tone neutrals and a black in that first row. If you kind of like look down here, then you get your browns, which are important. Then you get like a lot of different colors, and you get different variations of colors. You have a few variations of teal, a few variations of green, a bunch of variations of like red, yellow, orange, pink, and you get some shimmers to play with as well. So I think overall this is just like really thought out, especially for like a rainbow palette. A lot of rainbow palettes come across as like thrown together, and like it's kind of hard to come up with looks. Like the Jawbreaker palette by Jeffree Star comes to mind. I really love the quality of that palette, but I think it's also like the, you know, which I really usually don't care about this, but I think the ordering of the shades isn't quite as cohesive as something like this. Like this kind of like, this palette like has all the shades kind of mapped out, you know, according to tone, which I think is really nice. It makes it easy to kind of, you know, figure out exactly what you want to do and where to go to get that shade in the palette. But like the Jawbreaker palette, kind of like I get, you know, overwhelmed thinking of looks, but this has even more shades, and I definitely could see myself doing a lot of different things with this palette. This palette is really cool because you can do a lot of neutral looks. You have like every shade you need to do a neutral look, every shade you need to do a rainbow look. There's like hardly anything that I see missing in this palette. The only thing maybe is like a true champagne shimmer I'm not seeing, so that would have been nice to have, but you know, I have so many of those. I just feel like this shade selection is so nice. It does knock you out with all the bright rainbow shades, but everything is very deliberate, very thought out. I really love how it is pretty big and it's like a cardboard packaging, but the mirror is huge, which is really, really nice, and it's very, I think the packaging is sleek enough. It's not overly bulky or anything like that. It's a good size for what it is. It's the right size for what it has in it, and I really love how everything turned out. I'm really impressed with this palette. I wasn't sure when I first looked at it. When I first opened it, I kind of saw a little bit of that like pressing in the pans, that like little bit of texture, and the shimmers didn't look as shimmery as I expected, but I did use a couple of the shimmers in this look and they were actually pretty nice and foil looking on the eye, so I was definitely happy with that. So these are kind of, they don't look super flashy in the pans, but these shimmers look like nice creamy foiled shimmers, and the mattes perform beautifully, so pigmented, so blendable, very, very nice. So definitely, I think this is actually probably like my favorite palette. It also has a cream matte white shade that I could use if I want to like do a brown matte brow bone highlighter or like set my eyeshadow. This is and it has a true white. This is a really super beautiful palette. I'm really loving it and I'm really excited to see what else I can do with this palette. This is kind of one of those palettes, if you're like an actual makeup artist, this would be like the only palette you would need. You wouldn't even need to get like a bright palette, neutral palette. You would just need this one. If you're a beginner in makeup and you don't have a lot of money to spend, I would recommend just getting this and taking it as far as you can with one palette. I have 10,000 palettes myself, but if I were to start over again, I feel like this would be, and something happened and I couldn't really buy makeup anymore, but I could have one eyeshadow palette. I think this would be one that I would easily, happily be able to use for most of the rest of my life. So that's pretty cool. And I didn't say this retails for $58 US, which I think is an incredible steal. Again, I have to see the amount of product, but even still you get so many eyeshadows, especially if you're someone who has a lot of different eyeshadows. I think it's a really good deal for like 40 eyeshadows and the highlighter shimmers. I think it's 40 shades overall, whatever, I haven't counted. But for the amount of product you're getting, the amount of shade range you're getting, I think 58 is really a steal. And I got expedited shipping on it, which was an extra $10, so I paid $68 total. So I think that's still pretty good, and I got it within a week. So I thought that was, and again, it was shipping from, I got it from Beauty Bay, so I thought it was a pretty quick turnaround, and it wasn't like signature required. It wasn't annoying for me to get my package or anything, so I was very happy with the delivery. Everything came, nicely bubble wrapped, nothing came damaged, so I was very happy about that. And I think the palette's beautiful. I think it performed beautifully. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this palette. So anyway, if you are interested in seeing how I got this warm tone crease, rainbow cut crease winged eyeshadow look, if you are interested in seeing that, then keep on watching. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I am going to start to work above my crease, and I'm gonna use this yellow shade over here called Keen, and I'm just gonna kind of drag it out along the outer edge a little more than I normally would, because I am gonna be doing a winged cut crease. Also, I had already done my brows and primed my eyes with the NYX Jumbo Eye Pencil in Milk. So this is what I'm working with so far. I think that looks super pigmented. The sun is kind of coming in a weird way, so I feel like I'm gonna look a little bit washed out in this video, but this yellow, maybe it's because it's a little bit deeper and more mustardy, but it looks really nice and pigmented. I'm not too crazy about matte yellow eyeshadows normally because it's such a light color that it kind of fades and doesn't always look super pigmented when you blend it out into a crease, but this tone of yellow right over here is really, really nice, and it delivered pigment right away. And so far the blend is pretty good. So I'm gonna go into between the shade Haul over here and the shade Slow Burn over here. So Slow Burn's a little bit lighter and like more terracotta, and Haul is more of like a true neutral brown. So I'm just gonna kind of tap between those two shadows, and I'm gonna go underneath where I put that yellow Keen shade kind of more in my actual crease. And I'm using a smaller tapered OCC blending brush to do this. And again, I'm just kind of dragging that out a little bit more than I would normally along that outer edge. Try to trace out the shape for the wing cut crease that I'm gonna do. So this is how the shade in my crease is looking with that first yellow shade. So I used two different shades, that Haul shade, Haul Lotta Love. I used the Haul shade, which was like a true neutral brown, and then like that terracotta slow burn shade kind of mixed together. It's looking a little more terracotta, but again, it looks nice. It blended out really nice with the other shade, and the pigmentation is really nice. I didn't really have any fallout, and there's definitely not a lot of kick up in the pans. So far I am fairly impressed with the quality of these shadows. So I'm gonna create my winged cut creases. I'm gonna use the Urban Decay Naked Skin Concealer in Fair Neutral, and I'm gonna use this Morphe M421 brush. This is just a small flat concealer brush. So I'm gonna try to like really take my time doing this because I really want the shape to be even and really have like that wing where it kind of starts out smaller and goes up and then goes down along the side. So just really gonna try to take my time with this. And I'm like drawing the general shape. It is a little bit messy, but I'm definitely gonna go back and clean up the line. Okay, so I have cut my creases, and that literally took 300,000 years, but I think I got them pretty even, pretty sharp, pretty nice. I am gonna kind of do a variation on Roy G. Biv, a rainbow cut crease, so I'm gonna fill in with different colors. So the first color I'm gonna go in is with a red color, and I think I want to try, there's like 3 different reds here. We have Inferno, we have Boy Bye, and Lit. I think the most true red is the Inferno, so I think I'm gonna go in with that one. And I'm using the Morphe X Jeffree Star. This is the JS10 brush. It's like a small flat shader. I really like this brush, especially because I'm gonna be getting in the inner corner. So I don't want too much product. I'm gonna take off some of that excess. And I'm just gonna go over the cut crease right here. So this is how Inferno looks in the inner corner area of the cut crease. That red is really, really pretty. It's really true to color. I didn't even have to layer it too much to get it there. I'm wiping off some of the excess from that red shade, and I'm gonna go in with this next shade, Lit, here. It's like a neon orange shade. And I'm gonna kind of be going towards the back of my brow over here. I'm just gonna blend this in to the red shade. So that is the shade Lit. Again, very pigmented, very nice. I did have to build that one up a little bit more, but it is a little bit of a lighter tone. I'm also putting it on top of very light concealer that's still a little bit tacky, so that's fine. Overall, I think it's still looking pretty cool. Instead of going in with the yellow for the Y in Roy G. Biv, I'm going to go into the shade Fortune, which is this yellowy gold shade, and it's a shimmer. So far, I've only been working with mattes, and this is like, since it's kind of like going to be in the center of the lid, I think it'll be cool to use this gold, especially because we used the yellow above the crease. So I'm going to use the gold in the center of the lid. I think that's going to look really cool. And I wiped off the brush. I'm using the same Morphe Jeffree Star JS10 brush. This brush is so good for this, especially because my lids are so small and hooded. This is like perfect. I'm just going to go mesh this with that Lit shade towards the center of my lid. This is a nice creamy foiled shade. I'm gonna go back into Lit a little bit just to make sure that that transition is nice and smooth, because Fortune is such a lighter color, brighter color, that it gets a little stark. Like, you know, Inferno, the red, and the Lit, the orange, are both mattes and they're of a similar tone, so it's easier for them to look blended, but once you kind of change the tone, it's a little bit trickier. So I'm gonna take a little bit of the Lit Slate and just flick it just a little bit into that Fortune shade, just so that there's that gradient. I am going to, for my G in Roy G Bib, I'm gonna go into the shade Hype, which is this shade here. It's like a neon Kelly green kind of shade. Again, just using the same brush. Gonna go back into Fortune a little bit just to kind of make sure that stays in the look. Keep that gold popping. I'm kind of just dabbing it in between the orange and the green on those outer edges. Back into the green shade, the Hype. And I'm gonna finish that little wing. I'm not gonna go into the indigo blues. I'm gonna go to the last color, the violet. So I'm gonna use the shade Wasted over here, and I'm just going to use that where I flicked out the wing. Again, with the same brush. And I'm just kind of using like the edge of the brush to kind of fill this in, because there's like a little kind of tiny bit of concealer left here. Just want that to be basically the winged part. So this is the upper lash line of shadow done for the most part. Maybe we'll try to do a little bit of inner corner highlight, but let's save that for a little bit later. I think that this looks really cool so far. It was a little hard to get that edge perfect on this side, especially with that little wing, but we'll clean up with concealer. I think it's gonna look really cool. I love the way the tones came out. I think overall it's looking really fun and vibrant and like just a really cool gradient of color. So next I'm just gonna put on some mascara. I have the IT Cosmetics and Dry Bar collab Lash Blowout mascara. I'm just gonna start with this on the upper lashes. Okay, so I have my first layer of mascara on. I'm going to fan myself out, try to dry that out just a little bit. So because I didn't do any blue in the look, I'm gonna go over this mascara with the Colourpop Volumizing mascara, and this is in the shade Blue Ya Minds. And it's just like one of those electric blue colors. So that's how I'm gonna bring the blue into the look, or at least one of the ways. So let's just go in over top. And besides, I also love cocktailing mascaras. So that is Blue Ya Minds, the blue mascara over top of the IT Cosmetics. I think because I put the IT Cosmetics, this one isn't showing up as much because that other one is like a deep black. So it's not showing up as much, but I think that cocktailing was really nice. My lashes appear nice and separated, but also volumized and longer than they would naturally. I am going to line my waterline. I'm going to use the best Urban Decay 24/7 Glide On pencil in existence. This is in the shade Chaos. You can see that I'm going to need to get a replacement soon. I've had this for many years and it still works perfectly. This is just an electric blue matte eyeliner, and I'm going to put this in my waterline. So that is my waterline done. I think that adds the nice pop of blue, especially because the mascara didn't show up as much as I would have liked it to, but I have that nice pop of blue on the lower lash line. I am gonna go in with the Benefit Boing Cakeless Concealer, and this is in the shade number 1. And I'm just gonna use this to conceal under my eyes and clean up my eyeshadow wing. Especially on this side. This side wasn't quite as clean, so I really want to get precise with the concealer. I'm going to use my Juno microfiber velvet sponge. Just blend this out. So this is what I'm working with so far. It's looking pretty cool. I'm trying to get that lower lash line really, really sharp, but I still want it to look a little bit blended. As you can see, I'm just kind of really letting that concealer like cut through it, but it's a little bit tricky. So I want to try to use my Morphe small concealer brush. Again, this is the M429 or 421 to try to get this just right. Oh my God, just breathe. This is just makeup. It's supposed to be fun. I think I'm gonna leave it there. I don't want to kind of mess it up and overwork it. I think that looks pretty cool. It's a really fun, really different look, especially because I really cut the concealer underneath and really didn't blend it out. I just want that to be really sharp there. So I am going to apply my base and, you know, blush, highlight, all that stuff, and then I'm gonna come back to finish on the eyes. So my base is done. I will list the products I used in my description box below. So I'm not going to use these highlight shades for the face in this look. I'm just going to take a little bit of the shade Fair Play, which is the lightest kind of creamy white highlighter in the palette. And I'm going to go into my Morphe X Jeffree Star. This is the JS13 brush. It's kind of like a pencil brush, but it's not really tapered. And I'm just gonna hit my inner corner with this ever so slightly, just to get an idea of how these highlights perform. So that's pretty. It has like a nice gold reflect to it. Now the $1,000,000 question, what to do on the lower lash line. I think I'm gonna go into lower lash line with the shade Shuffle over here, which is just like a camel colored mid-tone transition crease kind of shade. I'm gonna use that same Morphe Jeffree Star. This is the JS13, just to get that on the lower lash line. I just want a little something on the lower lash line. There's already so much on the upper. I'm just gonna kind of leave it at that. I'm gonna take my Obsessive Compulsive Cosmetics tapered blending brush and just kind of really buff this out on the lower lash line. I'm gonna finish off the eyes with the Colourpop Volumizing Mascara in the shade Blue Ya Minds. I'm gonna just do that on the lower. I'm not gonna use the black. Yeah, it definitely shows up a lot more if you just go straight in with the blue. So that is the eyes done. I absolutely love how they came out. It was very touch and go. This was a very hard look to pull off for my intermediate skill level, but I think it looks really cool. I think it looks pretty even. I like how this eye came out better, which I didn't think I was gonna like better than this eye, but I think that they both look pretty even and pretty good. And I love that grading of color, and these eyeshadows performed absolutely beautifully. Super pigmented, super true to color, super blendable, very nice. Everything is very nice. I'm gonna finish my lips. I'm gonna use this Dose of Colors. This is their lip liner in the shade Honeymoon. And I'm gonna finish off my lips with the Lime Crime Lip Blaze Butter and Glaze Liquid Lip, and this is in the shade Clover. I'm gonna set my face with the Morphe X Jeffree Star Set and Refreshment Mist in the Starberry scent. This is the completed look. I absolutely love how it turned out. It's a really cool, fun take on a rainbow eye. I like that I did the typical warm toned browny yellowy shades in the crease, but then I went in with like crazy color on the lid with the winged cut crease. So I think I incorporated color in a really fun way, and with the lower, more natural looking lash line, but still with the blue mascara and the blue waterline. I think I kind of snuck in the color and kind of made it a little more, you know, flattering, kind of like fall rainbow look, kind of bringing us from summer to fall. So I'm really happy with the look and the warm tone nude lip. I think that that complements it really nicely. Anyway, that completes this video. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe and have a good one. Bye guys.